sus. Now they're like, okay, what do you guys have cooking here? Because 369, there's some options here that he I guess could go for. I feel like I've seen things like Urgot into Gwen in the past. I don't know if that's necessarily something that 369 wants to play here though.
Normally it's just those like really aggressive AD bruisers in the top lane, right? Like I mean, we'll know. Like Sniper used to take Riven into Gwen all the time. Yes, he's like a Riven player. Like Meslo as well. Like this is deep cut lore.
How many people on the LPL English broadcast like,
we're gonna know Meslo? But do you know what I mean? Like Riven into Gwen is something that we've seen before. So it's those archetypes of champions, Fioras, for example, that you might want to see going into Gwen. The Vi locked in though, so whatever it is that Shanks and Hope go for, good luck laning, buddy. Because this now means that whoever Shanks plays mid cannot be immobile, or is just going to get absolutely focused mid lane.
So this is another pick that can go well into the Gwen. You play the Kennen. As soon as the Gwen dashes in, you can pop your Lightning Rush, get a really easy stun off, and kind of just kite in and out of the way that this 1v1. And 369, a player that really enjoys this Kennen pickup as well. We've seen him perform very well in it with top esports, and so that is going to be the response that they had prepared for this ultra powerful pick that AL have set up for themselves.
And already, you know, this topside prio that we need to see played towards for AL, it sort of incentivizes us to think about those roaming supports as well, and thinking about how well they can make their way up to this top side. So things like Ezreal start to go up in value. Jhin, those weak side AD carries, do begin to become quite highly prized. But AL have already drafted themselves a boatload of magic damage here with the Gwen, the Volibear, and the Ahri. They are a magic damage team at the minute. You know, we can maybe build a Divine Sunder or Sundered Sky for the Volibear, but even still, you're looking very heavily towards a magic damage composition. So taking out these hyper carries of the AD by top esports, definitely going to be a way to go for success.
Just bot lanes left up, so those are going to be the targets here for both of these teams. Chris Rakan on the ban table as well in this second phase. Curious to see if those utility AD carries are still going to be the target here for AL now that they do probably need a little bit more physical damage in their composition. We'll say Chris likes the pike as well. I mean, could that be an option? Could we get a little spicy here?
No. Unless it's Draven Pike, blind, no. I would advocate that we don't do that. Looking at Rel, I think, is the next like engage support that's still typically high tier, and when we see Renata banned as well, suggests that you're looking for those engage style champs. So yeah, the Rel matching the Renata here, taken off the board. Still got Braum available if top esports do go for that very aggressive style of pick, and then aggressive support, but probably going to get their first pick of ADs and again get that counter pick support in Crisp's hand. Ashe still open as well if teams are looking for to be a little bit more proactive with their engages. Top esports decide with this top lane priority and just the power of Ezreal as well at the minute, it's worth saying. But they can play towards top side now. They can punish Flandre. They can leave the Ezreal on an island and look to those ADs to be a little safer.
No Rakan, but Isaiah still an option as a champion that can survive a little bit on its own. Also a good counter to the Vi that has been picked up by Kanavi on the other side for top esports. Maybe they just go for more of that utility. The Jhin going to get locked in. That was a pick that you suggested. Yeah. It does enough damage, especially as you scale it later on. In terms of Kael's supports, engaged champions that I have on my mind right now, Leona is like the next person off the tier list, unless you want to go with like a Braum preemptively. Then you kind of lack some engage.
Yeah, I think that they are playing very heavily toward a sort of sit and absorb damage kind of composition, which is a little bit lacking in that proactivity with the Braum lock-in, but they've still got things like Ahri Volibear to get the fight started. Gwen as well can be loose engaged with the needlework as well if you are synchronized, but for AL I think this is a pretty tricky composition to execute. Top esports, what are they going to go for here? The issue with Braum is you can get counterpicked quite easily. Braum is a very volatile support in the lane specifically because of things like this. Like Braum does incredibly well versus your Leonas, versus your Nautiluses, but he gets absolutely smandangled by an Ezreal Karma lane, and is going to be, you know, punished underneath the turret quite significantly.
you can only block so much poke with that Unbreakable.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe a Bard for Crisp could have been fun here on 5.
Yeah,
as
it
well,
could have
but
been.
The Karma works very nicely. This is the standard bot lane. Try to poke out Hope and Kael as much as possible in this early game, because you know this top side is going to be where the focus is for trying to get somebody like Flandre ahead in this 1v1 matchup. At least keep him safe against a 3-6-9 on his signature cannon pick. And so that rounds out our draft for game number 3. We've got some really interesting dynamics working here, Rood.
I mean, this now, it slightly augments how AL can play this game. They want to be playing towards the Gwen on that top side, but knowing that they've been counterpicked by this Kennen, they can start to transition down to this bot side, because if Ezreal Karma isn't pushing and trying to take plates under the turret, why are we playing Ezreal Karma, right? So there's a very real world where we might actually see Tarzan make a little bit of a move down to this bot side, try to punish them over aggression, and then the same to be said for the flip side as well. If Top Esports want to try to punish this bot lane for taking this Braum quite early on, there's an opportunity for them to do that with some poke, with some jungle setup as well.
Well, we've got our decider. Top Esports against Anyone's Legends, and even though this game might not have as much stakes as the previous 3 times these teams have faced off in 2025, given the history, there's still so much to fight for. Want to get your regular season off on the right note, as we have a lot of Ascension group stage games ahead of us. Players walkouts ready. We're ready to go here as well on LPL English. It's Top Esports versus Anyone's Legends, game number 3 coming right up.
And I do want to take this time as well to remind people that before 2025, Anyone's Legend were a team that struggled in the LPL. They were a team that were just like in 2024, some have made playoffs, don't get me wrong, but that hadn't really had any tournament success. Were actually knocked out by Top Esports, funnily enough, in that 2024 playoffs run. But before that, 2023 was an awful year for them, and 2022 no different. So coming into 2025 and not really making massive changes, I think that the Flandre Tarzan addition was incredible, don't get me wrong, and it's clearly proven to be exactly that. But this is an organization that probably was hoping for this success, but probably not expecting it so much. And the way that they've been able to take over the LPL almost with a dominant Demacia Cup, a incredible run through Split 1 playoffs, has definitely given a new breadth of life to AL fans.
Definitely. This is the first year that they've really been a true contender. They proved that by winning Demacia Cup, and I remember even going into that tournament, right? Like, people were not super confident about how AL would do, even with a player like Tarzan and Flandre on their roster, just because the history has never been there for this organization. I remember back in like 2023 when they signed like Sword Art to their team, and I was like, oh, that could be fun. Steady Sword Art, like this LMS duo, and they finished like last place, and then both their players got benched. So that's kind of history that we have here with AL, but they are trying to change that narrative, and they have done so rather successfully so far this year.
I do want to quickly call out as well as we dive back into this game. It is TP Exhaust for Flandre on that top side, so I think that Exhaust typically mandated versus Kennens every single time. Big spells going wide here, it's worth saying as well, so Crisp and JackeyLove making sure that they are trying to pepper these spells in, but worth looking as well. Early gank bot lane.
Already flashes blown. Deadly Flourish does not connect here as Tarzan goes for another level 3 gank down from the bottom side. Flash on to Chris to land that stun. Should be an easy kill and is picked up by Hope. First blood AL.
Yeah, and what are you going to do, right? Like, you have to play this bot lane so aggressively, otherwise you're just going to get outscaled and not have the purchase in the late game. But if Tarzan's going to 3-camp his way down to the bot side, it just is unfortunate for Top Esports that they've not read that play. Now, Kanavi is invading on this top side. This is the response that you need to make. Smites away the blue buff so that Shanks doesn't get a steal on it. But this could be detrimental for Tarzan. However many camps we end up seeing AL lose on this top side could be pretty big.
And again, because 369 has this range advantage as well as just like a natural, it serves as a pretty solid counter into the Gwen overall, especially earlier on in this game. Having Kanavi control that top side is going to be very big. Look at the vision that he was also able to put down here. That nice trinket right below the blue buff is going to mean a lot. And it actually forces Hope to lane swap up to the top side after picking up that first kill, because they want to try to get Flandre out of this lane.
Yeah, I think a quick shout out as well to JackeyLove's 700th game in the LPL. But the 7th now in the LPL in terms of players who played games. That's a deep CP in here from Flandre. Hold on.
Dash away. He has the exhaust, but no defensive summoner spell like a flash or anything like that to close the gap. W's able to do enough. Actually, Flandre pops the exhaust. He might be able to win a 1v2, but JackeyLove will flash into the brush and make sure that he's able to pick up the kill. That was very aggressive from our former world champion, and it does not work out for him.
No, and maybe if he'd have found the kill on that top side, we might have understood it, but he did just TP in and die. It does burn double summoner spells off of JackeyLove, it's worth saying, but yeah. Not the best TP that we've ever seen, and certainly one that we will see better from in future. Now, I think Kanavi's fine here. TP in from Shanks just to, again, put a little bit of pressure down, but the attempted gank down, or the successful gank down on that bot side for Tarzan has come at the cost of his own experience, right? Like, Kanavi is a little bit further ahead, has found 3 camps netted, or rather netted 2 camps it looks like, from that little invade to the topside jungle. And now with Shanks in this mid lane, probably the only area of the map that's actually even, let's say. And it looks like, yeah, just thought it was going to be on a recall. Okay.
And I mean, this has match implications for what the rest of the game looks like as well, right? Because it seemed like overall Hope and Kael, they had the advantage of getting that first kill. But now, Flandre's even more behind, and JackeyLove right back to even by picking up this one.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what an Ezreal farmer wants, right? It's to find kills in the early game. Typically, it's onto your bot lane duo, and it's onto find it's because you found plays as well. But both of these bot laners now with a quick kill, a little bit of acceleration to these 2 players is going to be quite nice. I mean, they've been massive playmakers for their teams now for not the series necessarily, but been massive linchpins in their success. As Tarzan trying to stop Kanavi taking the straight, there's no support.
Lightning Rush to try to get here and close the gap. Might be a smite play. We're not at 600 guess yet, but Tarzan will not be able to pick it up, but Flandre does with a snip. Are you kidding me? Does not have the ultimate, so will likely go down here in a 3v1. 369 lands the shuriken to secure the stun. Shanks ran out of charges on his ultimate, so has to walk out of the Dragon Pit the old-fashioned way, but is able to survive. It's 2 kills over to top esports, but anyone's legends, they do pick up the dragon.
Okay, well, that's a little, again, a little questionable. I mean, the early prio for top esports was just there, so it's always going to be tricky for Tarzan to try and make that play. Now Shanks trying to navigate his way out of this position.
Dashes in, but might just be a bait. There comes Tarzan as well as Sky Splitter comes through, and Kanavi will fall. That is AL picking themselves up another kill as Tarzan gets back into the action.
Okay, the early volley bear damage there coming through, just enough to one-shot Kanavi and actually keep Shanks alive there. Really important that the Ahri doesn't fall, is able to get back, go back to base, and try to now ascend back out into the mid lane. Nice little execution from AL, turning around what was a disastrous play down in the bot lane, getting them a little bit more gold.
Kael tries to cancel the back.
Succeeds
for it though, as the root does connect with Chris. He's going to take a bit of a beating, but maybe he was headed back to base anyway. Back to an even-ish game state right now. Top esports have a slight lead. It is mostly on this top side. As you can see right now, Flandre just using the needlework to try to clear out this wave and get himself a nice reset. But Anyone's Legends doing nice jobs on the other areas of the map. Including Tarzan off of that last play. Now makes his way over to the Grubs to be able to pick these up rather than.
Yeah, and for AL, again, I want to sort of start painting a picture of what the compositions look like as we move later on into this game. They're down the barrel a little bit here, I would say. I think that Ahri falls off a little bit as we move later on into the game, the volley bear as well. So they are very reliant on Flandre in the Gwen to be that damage in the late game. I think as we move into the hyper late game, it's worth saying that Hope can have impacts in agency as well. But we are talking of 5-6 item Jhin when he's sold his lethality and gone back to crit type levels of Jhin. Whereas for top esports, you have the late game damage from an Azir, the late game range and poke from an Ezreal, and then the team fight capabilities that come from 369 and Kanavi as well to isolate and take down one target. Really quite the composition that 369 and top should be looking to play that little bit later on and be happy with the fact that they've actually got a lead.
We'll see how far they can take it. Right now, I can see on the bottom here, screen all red in terms of the gold advantages. So picking up that first kill in the bottom lane. Thought that maybe Hope and Kael would have been able to get out to a nice lead, but JackeyLove is nicely. And of course, on the top side, 369 having the better end of things against Flandre. We did see the picture-in-picture a couple of minutes ago that Flandre did actually burn 369's flash. Not sure how impactful that summoner spell is going to be, though, especially as there's not really any major objectives that these teams probably want to fight over just yet that a cannon is going to provide significant impact in at this point in the game.
I think the thing is that this now gives a window for when exhaust is up. And Flandre's got exhaust up and his ulti up. Now it opens up an opportunity for a solo kill for Flandre. So the TP, rather the flash, maybe not so impactful for any team fights, but that laning could prove to be quite important. Looking at the items though, I mean, Flandre is also in absolutely no man's land with his items right now. Like tier 2 boots and a ruby crystal, what are we doing? It's all going into useful items, don't get me wrong, but there's no AP here.
Wow, yeah, it doesn't even go for like the sword shoes. You know, just pure CDR to try to, I guess, get his ability to clear waves down a little bit easier. But right now, 0 combat power against 369 up in the top set. The true shot barrage comes out, trying to chunk out some of the solo laners. Actually, potentially would spot out Tarzan, but he actually dodged really nicely. And we get back towards the game state where top esports have control and 3 pushing lanes again. Flandre though trying to find some advantage here. Remember, that's what he tried to get here by burning the flash at 369. But he whiffs all 3 procs of the needlework, and the audience responds accordingly.
Yeah, just a big whiff, unfortunately. And sometimes they're going to happen. Nice little footwork from 369. Can argue if one of those hits that maybe there's an opportunity to take him out, but now Kanavi's hovering on this top side. Crisp is making his way up here as well. Thank you, observers. Just showcasing that they knew there was a little bit of threat around this top lane, and they're not willing to let it go down.
Not just yet. Another situation now where Flandre, without the ultimate, maybe in some trouble as Crisp roaming around here. Tarzan here to reinforce his top laner just a bit as we have this Grubs also spawning in a minute. Dragon in 15 seconds, but with the respawn just coming through from Kanavi, they're not going to be able to start that one up on spawn. A little bit quieter here in the early game.
Yeah.
Between these two teams. We're really waiting for these big 5v5s.
Maybe not exactly how I theorized, but, you know, game 3 being a lot tighter stands to reason. When it is the, let's call it the game on the line, the series on the line more so, teams tend to get a little bit more tentative, just because they don't want to be the reason that their team ends up losing the game or what have you.
Now, nobody wants to be that guy at this point. And, now the Dragon is started up by TES. Just really look at this top lane matchup. 6-9, TES lead right now over Flandre, right, like at this point in the game. Very, very impressive stuff. And you know, I feel like we haven't talked too much about 369. You know, when you look at this top esports team, JackeyLove show for the finals, he won the MVP. Then it's Kanavi, who's had high impact. 369 holding down the fort, and in this game 3, the decisive matchup, he locks in a counter matchup against one of the strongest champions right now in the meta. Doing well on it so far.
Yeah, I mean, they left this Gwen up for a reason, right? We were in the draft sort of giggling like, oh, they're back over, yeah, fun Gwen now. They go, no, we don't, we've got an answer. And so far it is working out big time, so kudos to 369 for being able to pilot this nice and easily. I mean, half of it comes from the fact that Flandre TP didn't die, but now we've got another scrap for these Grubs.
Tarzan slices it away, that's 4-0. That means the top esports will not be able to control the entire camp. See if anyone's legends want to look for anything more. They have hope on the way, and a teleport entering here from Flandre. Stun lands on 369, who pops the Maelstrom, but he's getting bursted down by Shanks at this point. Kael at the flash with the Unbreakable on top of him, and now Flandre with the needlework can do some work. Current call has been opened up. Chris takes the second shot in the third. Here comes the Sky Splitter from Tarzan. They try to lock down Creme, and he's the first casualty in the fight. Anyone's legends already up 1-0, and they could look for more with Flandre dashing in on the Chris. They will secure the final grub to make it a 5-1 in that department, and they pick up a kill onto the mid laner up top.
So it's a 1-kill fight, a lot of scrappy ultis thrown down, a lot of team fights that have been more explosive than that between these two teams, but everybody just again barely able to get out to safety. Save for Creme. It's a good flash engage and a great flash buffer as well from 369. Spots it coming and flashes early enough to bait Shanks in far enough and to make sure that AL are just far enough away as the rest of the team. JackeyLove caught himself a little bit on this front line. He has to dash back out to safety and can't particularly pump out that DPS. And again, it just seems like a very close fight where everybody's a little bit measured, a little bit controlled now. And with the Grubs going the way of AL, favour that for Flandre as we move into this mid-game, into this split push. It's, again, a Gwen that theoretically should be looking to take these fights in the side lane.
You look at the one person who fell in that fight, it was Creme on the Azir, who just tried to get a little bit too aggressive, land a couple more auto attacks in onto somebody like Tarzan, who still have the ultimate, which can jump on top of him, and then the crowd control chain that you can get from AL is really, really nice. As soon as Tarzan lands that pointing clip with you, you have the Deadly Flourish, you have the Charm to follow up on it, so that is the single target crowd control that AL will be looking for in terms of finding these picks as they did onto Creme in that last fight. So I'll work well for them here. See you now? It's work on the other side, as Tarzan is getting targeted and taken down by Kanavi. JackeyLove providing a ton of artillery in response as well. Now Kael the target here. Top Esports, they're fully stacked in this bottom lane, and they get themselves 2 easy kills.
And they'll be more than happy to walk away with those. A little invasion to the bot side jungle nets Top Esports more than just a red buff, as we get to see them just have more members down on this bot side and be more willing and ready to rotate across. Crisp and 369, this random bot lane pairing that we've established for the last 2 minutes, now looking to find a dive onto Flandre. They can even take the turret first if they want to.
It's going to be a huge swing for the party. The exhaust only onto Kanavi. Needlework will at least secure a trade as Crisp goes down, teleport in from Shanks to at least clear out the rest of this wave. That is all that they'll get. Another nice response here from Top Esports. That's a 3-for-1 all things considered, as well as a couple of minion waves going the way of themselves as well.
Yeah, now whether Shanks can get a turret on the back half of this might end up being a slightly more beneficial exit to this, but actually with Creme basing, he probably TPs down to this bot side to try and stop that from happening. And again, with AL looking to clap back a little bit in this game, it's Top Esports that are just barely finding more success and coming out on top of Creme.
Oh wow, Creme with a really nice Shuriva shuffle, followed up by Kanavi on the Vi, who waited around the bottom lane to bide his time to find that kill. Nicely done by the young mid laner of Top Esports.
A little alley-ooper there, and for Creme as well, a little bit of redemption here in this game number 3. Game number 1 certainly was a large proponent of some of those mid-game woes, getting caught out on side lanes, but games 2 and 3 so far, showing himself up, feeling much more comfortable on the Tristana, now on the Azir, and 369.
Here's the response on the other side that AL need to have work. Tarzan turns off the tower for now, but 369 with the lightning rush. No, the stun doesn't connect onto the cannon, and Kanavi here to the rescue. Another kill going towards Top Esports off of a failed play from AL, and now Kanavi can look for more. Nicely used the ultimate by Kael to at least prevent anybody from Vi jumping in, but now Flandre still under threat. One more auto attack could do it, but he will live, as Kael and Flandre just barely are going to escape with their lives.
King Kanavi in the top lane, in the bot lane, wherever you need him, he is there. Dominating AL in game number 3 and starting to really run this game. 4 kills in his back pocket that he's facilitated, 3 kills for himself. Now 5k gold lead as well for Top Esports. They take the top tier 1. He's looking at taking this dragon as well, recalling to make that play. Tarzan, an initial sniff around the top side for 369, but looking for this play. He's got no stun onto 369. He can't keep him in place. And then, all of a sudden, the damage comes through. A couple of stuns and the turret turns back on. Tarzan finds himself locked up under the turret, and the Kennen just barely able to dance around the fight.
2 uses of that Q from Tarzan that does not hit 369. Crucial bits of crowd control, crucial bits of damage that could have resulted in that kill going over, but now Top Esports in firm control of this game, Roodood. They got 5,000 kills to pick up the second dragon, and Kanavi had a pretty quiet first couple of games, but now really coming to life on this vibe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 7 out of 8 kill participation by the rest of his team. 5 is the most, and that's for 369. But I think Kanavi again, just the reason that these 2 teams have been so powerful in split number 1 was their junglers, and this game is a great example. Game number 1 was as well for Tarzan, but this time around it is the Kanavi show, and once again looking, sniffing around on this top side for Flandre.
Tarzan, 2-shot barrage comes out to take a chunk of damage as the volley bear is chucked down to half HP. What are the angles back in right now for AL? They need their carries to scale. The Gwen and the Jhin need to get some sort of semblance back into this game, but right now it's not even close to happening.
Yeah, you mentioned the Jhin. This is the whatever the opposite of a glorious return is for an item build path. We have returned to Mosquito Jhin, where we've got Rapid Fire and Static Shiv. in a game where your damage is so dependent on, honestly, you as a whole, that we are going to be waiting for so long for this Jhin to be providing meaningful damage to these team fights, and, you know, recognizing that maybe the game isn't going so well. Maybe I need static shift to keep us in this game so I can wave clear better, but if it talks about getting us to team fights, I'm not there.
It's all about potentially finding picks at this point. You know, we talked about how the volley bear chain with like an Ahri can work really well in terms of stacking up crowd control bursts and keeping people down. And then just like, you know, not fighting a team fight until you get to like 35 minutes and your Jhin has 4 items, right? I mean, it's not a great situation right now for AL. There's some hope, but it lies on the Jhin. And right now the Jhin is not there.
No. Jhin is currently in transit, and there's a massive traffic jam. So it's going to take a while, unfortunately. Now I'm looking at an attempt to play down on this bot side, hop over the wall. We can see Shanks limping, or not limping, but sort of walking away from that bot lane play. And no turrets taken yet for AL. A bit of a trait from them in these games where they're struggling is that they're not really able to even use a cross map. Might like to see them just maybe drop a dragon, try and make a play for a top side turret, or drop those grubs, go for the play on the bot lane to ensure that they're able to take an objective. But really, whatever it is that they've been able to look for, Top Esports are looking to answer it and match it even more.
We'll see if anything can be done to stop this right now. Top Esports in firm control. We'll see Kanavi around here, spotted on a ward. Not going to target just yet on that Tarzan. Full ward placed there by Kanavi is big. Make sure that he is able to smite that ward and back. There's not a ton to fight over on this top side right now. A lot of confidence down towards the bottom lane. Right now, Top Esports have firm control over that, and now a really long play towards Creme on this Vizier. Flandre issuing that teleport.
Yeah, I mean, now Shanks looking for a fight with Flandre TPing in. He's got the turret up. This is 4 members committing to this bot side.
TP angle for 369 as well. That's all they need. Teleport comes in from 369, and he's just too strong. You do not want to fight a cannon underneath the tower like that. So anyone's legend, that extended play will go towards the wayside. Instead, they're trying to find something on a Chris instead. Knockups connect. Crowd control chain is there, and Hope picks up a much needed kill for AL.
The Mosquito feasts. Hope finds another kill. Going to be working his way towards that Infinity Edge. Hopefully, is that third item. And start to really pack a punch in these skirmishes. Like you say, great little CC chain. Nice that they're able to link up all of the Deadly Flourish, the flash dump on the volley bear. But ultimately, they've committed a lot of resources there. The volley bear flash, I think, was pivotally important. Is your best way, really, at getting onto Creme, onto JackeyLove. And you've used it here to take Crisp down, which, well, we can argue the ramifications and the benefits of that. So, definitely a small-term victory for AL for something that may end up costing them in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, Crisp is the one tanking that death to make sure the rest of his team lives. They're going to be very happy with that. He's got his first item, which is basically all you need right now as a karma. Like JackeyLove target this tier 1 turret now. Legends are around to try and find the Hope gets jumped out pretty nicely by JackeyLove's instant shots. So now AL are forced to go on the defensive, at least for now.
Worth calling out here, we have got recently buffed Rod of Ages Ahri coming to fruition. A lot of mages starting to pick up this itemization as well, just giving you a little bit more HP as well to try and withstand what is going to be a very damage-focused Top Esports composition. A reminder that for AL, they really wanted to kind of snowball this game. They have the Ahri, the Volley Bear, 2 champs that known notoriously for not pumping out the most amount of damage later on, but rather being set up and supplied for their team. And we're looking at Flandre, we're looking at Hope, as they're the ones that are getting collapsed on in the mid lane.
Yeah, Creme wants to join the fight as AL tried to cheat a little bit on that mid prio with the dragon spawning. Ripterald has been procced by Tarzan, so that will be able to get a little bit of pressure in this mid lane, but 369 has his flash and his ultimate. He provides so much threat and so much danger here for anyone's legend on that bottom side river. The Ripterald not even going to get a chance to charge before Top Esports take it down.
So have to remember there's no time pressure here for Top Esports, right? Like, they don't do anything, they just wait for another wave to come and then they'll take the Drake 30 seconds later. It's not a big deal to have to stick around and try and take down that Rip Herald. So all they do, dance around in this mid lane, show AL that they've got the fancy feet as well apparently, and Now we can see Kanavi on the Dragon. He's going to take that down. The turret goes up to just sort of T-pose in their face. And AL, they don't get anything for another Drake going down.
Okay, get a cleanse out of JackeyLove, but that is a very small price to pay for soul point potentially for top esports unless Tarzan can jump in for a steal. Can he get it? No! Secured by Kanavi, and now AL are fish in a barrel for Tarzan and the rest of 369. His ultimate comes out, slicing Maelstrom onto Shanks. As well, here comes Creme though with this shuffle. We'll be able to find two. Chris will go down. Anyone's Legends. They're finding the fight. Tarzan jumps forward, but he gets bursted down by JackeyLove and Creme. The carries for top are doing so much damage as they pick up the soul point, but will lose two.
So it's a one fight for anyone's Legend. It comes at the cost of that Dragon, and I don't think that this tier 1 turret is on the cards for them. A little bit too much damage on Creme here and a little too low HP bars for AL. That pops into the charm!
Creme doesn't have flash. He picks up 1 kill onto Shanks, but it will be a trade and the tier 1 turret going down. That is a worth trade for anyone's Legends as they find another angle to somehow claw back into this game.
Yeah, that was like an 800 gold shutdown for Hope there. He's going to go back to base and he got a kill in that fight as well. So with the share of the tier 1 turret, the big bounty off of that kill as well, should be able to finish off IE and begin to now start really pumping out the DPS. Kanavi secures the Drake to begin with. 369 not really finding the targets that we might have liked to see. And Shanks, again with this Rod of Age, is actually able to survive quite well in that front line. Buys a lot of space for AL. Has a lot of time and soaks up a lot of the cooldowns. Yes, a bit of an overzealous jump in there from Tarzan as both JackeyLove and Creme flash out to safety. But then we see Creme here getting a little bit too big for his britches as he hops forward on a charm timing that Shanks absolutely nails.
Nice for Creme to at least pick one back up, but not worth it for top as well. You know, especially after picking up that Dragon. That was the main play for you, and going net -1 in terms of kills after it, not too bad, all things considered. But now giving that shutdown over is going to be potentially a problem, as that's the Infinity Edge picked up. Hope is very strong in this game. 3-0, 3 items in 26 minutes. The question is, will it be enough? Not so sure.
No, it is a question that unfortunately is on Hope to answer, as whether he can be the carry that his team needs him to be again. We're not yet at that mega late game Jhin phase where I'm thinking, yes, he can probably be that carry, you know, where you're just literally 2-tapping squishies. He probably needs a full set of bullets to take down just JackeyLove at this point, and then again, you know, the amount of times that any AD carry gets off 16 autos in a fight is very infrequent, let alone a Jhin who's reloading in between every 4 of them. So it's still definitely tricky for anyone's Legend. They're still very reliant on being able to buy space, and for Shanks and Tarzan really to keep being that setup. Let's see a little bit more maybe from Flandre as well. This B1 pick that had sort of given them all of the, let's say, the draft control that they wanted, or all of the priority that they put in the draft rather. We need to see more from it, and so far Top Esports starting up this Atakan. Creme posting up saying you can't cross me, and now 6k down and he backs away.
Top Esports away. Crucially, that exhaust about to come off cooldown from Flandre, meaning if 369 comes in, once again, limit the damage of the slicing Maelstrom. Right now, the Top Esports are kind of aware of that. Heal away from the objective. Force AL to redeploy to the mid lane, kind of reset their waves, and maybe go back to the objective in a couple of minutes.
Worth saying as well that Jhin can contribute much more to these fights from a further range than 369 can, just with that curtain call. But pushing on bot side, these tier 1 turrets standing for Top Esports and actually making life really tricky for AL. Not to try and collapse or try and find a fight or anything like that. It's going to be a struggle for them because there's that tier 1 turret there that's giving them that little bit of safety as well.
So, look at where we are in this game. Remember, game 3 between AL and Top Esports, a rematch of our rematch of the Demacia Cup Finals, even back in January. For anyone's Legends, they're now down 3,000 gold. Hope has to be the difference maker here. Has another BF sword in inventory, going to be very strong. And you know, somebody who's more of the supportive player for anyone's Legends, and kind of throughout his career as well. You might remember back on JDG, played with 269 and Kanavi actually. Went to Worlds with that team, but never was like the definitive carry. He's gonna have to do a lot of carrying here once his team comes up.
Yeah, I think the issue is that they put him on supportive AD carry who only really gets to be that super carry you know, post 40, 45 minutes when you've got that Elder type thing stacking up and in your back pocket. But we've stalled for long enough now, Grapes, that we're 15 seconds away from Seoul being a potential for top esports. And Shanks now getting jumped on.
And JackeyLove shifts forward, responded to by Kael on the Unbreakable. Hops on the Desert Flourish, long range damage, limited but decent here for AL as the Dragon has slotted top esports.
Early poke now, this is where you want your Ezreal to step up. JackeyLove, you can see taking point, the range of his ear as well. Tarzan's already going in.
Teleporting from Flandre. Tarzan looking for a smite steal, but it will be picked up.
Soul.
That is Ocean Soul for top esports and Kanavi, who now dashes in, lands the Vi ultimate onto one, and there's 3, 6, 9 with a slicing maelstrom, no exhaust to boot on the other side. Already 3 kills. It's a double for Jackie. Dashes forward in a 1v2, forces Shanks to go golden. Hope on the run, and there's no hope for anyone's legend in this game or in this series. He flashes away from the vault breaker of Kanavi, and top esports take control of game 3.
A 4-0, a Soul as well, and top esports are right back on top of the LPL. A game against AL, which had been hanging on a knife's edge in game number 2, but in game number 3, they are starting now, finally, at that 30-minute marker, to put their foot to the throats of anyone's legend. They'd had this 5k gold lead for so long, just sat teasing them, but finally, they get the Soul, they transition it into the Baron as well, and it's just a fight that Tarzan is just starting again a little bit too early. Same to be said in game 2, where he's just a bit too far forward. The rest of his squad not quite there. And then 369, a Kennan's dream, is 3 people stuck in a pit. He's able to collapse on that perfectly. And if nothing else, the Ocean Soul in this game you could see doing so much work in this fight, doing so much work. Creme was about 200 HP at one point during that skirmish. Between shielding and healing coming through from the Karma and the Ocean Soul as well, he ends that fight about 1500 HP, and JackeyLove as well survives a 4th shot, largely off of the fact that he gets a quick little shield and an Ocean Soul prompt as well.
By the way, there's an Otacon that wasn't taken, so now he's going to go for that in addition to it. Soul, Baron, Otacon, all in the span of 3 minutes, we're counting on top of a 7,000 gold lead. Top esports in current control of this game. Oh, they are looking very, very good with those revives in hand. It's going to be very hard to stop.
Yeah. There was when Voracious Otacon first got added, you could do so many crazy things with this, and it had really cost very little. It now costs a little bit more, but Flandre is just going to die top. Maybe he actually gets away, actually. He's got support from this jungler, so Tarzan shows his face a little bit. He does have to burn the needle work, which means again, this defense on the bot side is going to be even harder.
Back to that last fight, the exhaust that Flandre had, he fell without it being used on his 6-9. Slicing Maelstrom, not stopping any of it. The exhaust from Kael was actually used on his 6-9 before he even pressed the R button, so that's worked well for top esports, who are now trying to take 2 inhibitors at the same time. Mid lane first, bot lane second. In the mid lane as well, 369 forces Flandre to actually have his base cancel and have him run straight potentially into the entirety of the enemy team. Nexus Tower is now under fire. This could definitely just be the end of the series right here. Flandre is going to burn down as 369 picks up the solo kill.
The final sees the final onslaught. AL, their series on the line.
Anything they can do? Absolutely not. Creme goes in with a shuffle. Another slicing maelstrom just for good measure. 369 will fall, but it does not matter. Top esports, your LPL champion, will get their victory in the finals rematch.
What a day, Graves, for this series. We've had 3 games into 2 games into another great 3-game series. And top esports, they will make it 2-2 now. We are going to get that series best of 5 in the second round robin. AL, they went 2-0 up the Demacia Cup finals, Group A in Split 1. But since then, the finals of the LPL into now this first round robin of the group stage in their favour. The matchup, the marquee matchup of 2025 in the LPL is now evened up. They came into today, was it a 7-5 record between the 2 teams? They go away at the end of it 8-7.
So if you're AL, it's like, hey, we get the head-to-head overall, but now this is 2 series in a row that you have lost to top esports, and for a team that had such a dominant start to the season, maybe one that was a bit more unexpected, you wonder if maybe this is this team coming back to earth a little bit. They, of course, have only played against these top opponents, and even in the placement stage, did very well overall, only dropping 1 game to RNG. But still some things to take into consideration. They're going to have to bounce back relatively quickly as they've got IG in just 3 days' time.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule is a little brutal. That's always been the LPL's way, and especially when you're in Ascend, you play good teams pretty much every week. So for AL, it's about that bounce back. For Top Esports, it's about continuing now to ride this wave. They were the best team in the LPL in Split 1. I think that the lower bracket run that they went on, deservingly, right, gets them that spot at first stand and gives them that title. Because they took down pretty much everybody on their way to that LPL title. So the idea now that they've got to assure themselves, put themselves back on top for Split 2, go back to International, redeem what was a flubbed affair, they're starting off on the right foot.
Yeah, there's always that little wrinkle of Top Esports. They've looked dominant recently domestically, you know, and that's added up, combined from the end of Split 1 into Split 2, but you have that little break in between where the international competition didn't necessarily go their way. You know, the only win they're getting against North America is not normally a good sign if you are a team from the LPL, right? And so for Top Esports, the question is not necessarily what they can do here in the regular season or in the LPL in general. It's making sure that they scale up, fix some of the mistakes that were plaguing them against some of the better teams internationally, so that if they do get back to that stage with this new look roster, with Kanavi joining the fray, like, they're going to be able to look good.
Yeah, I think that's the truly important part. And I mean, this time round, they'll have a lot of games that they can play. Split 1 was great for getting really high intensity series, but I think overall the amount of games that you play is, you know, a little bit lower. But Split 2 is going to be, you know, what is it, like 9 best of 3s times 2, so 18 best of 3s that you will definitely play, which
in like 8 weeks, by the way.
Yeah,
like, non-stop.
And then that's just group stage, by the way. That's not the entire thing. That's just the group stage. Then you have playoffs. Yeah, so they're going to play a lot of games, and I think that's going to be really, really impactful for Top.
Take a look at the damage charts. Creme and JackeyLove leading the charge. I mean, obviously the Ezreal doing poke damage, as well as I think just decent damage, like, in general for this game. I feel like 369 though had another really big game. I'm almost inclined to give him the MVP if it's not Kanavi on the Vi.
Yeah, I think it'll probably end up going the way of Kanavi, who just kind of walked the early game and led AL into submission. I think that there was this really weird mid-game lapse in this game where we sort of got to 20 minutes and Top Esports had this 5k gold lead. Then we sort of sat around and did nothing for 6-7 minutes. And then AL, you know, found a fight that they didn't quite want. Top Esports capitalized and they started running over with the game again. So I think it's important to remember how Top Esports got to the position they were in. And for me, that largely comes off of Kanavi.
I mean, he also, like, won every single Smite fight, right? Like, it was not just the impact that
there
he
was
had.
the 1 HP grub as well.
Too many of them that just go your way in the supposed 50-50s. That's got to mean something in terms of skill. Yeah, again, we talked about how Kanavi, you know, especially in the loss that they suffered to AL in game number 1, really didn't have much impact on that Skarner. Then on the Maokai, he came to life, especially towards the end of that game when he had to be the primary engaged on the Maokai. This game, start to finish on this Vi, I mean, Kanavi played an excellent game number 3.
Yeah, true. I mean, this is a great example. This is literally just after he's found the kill bot lane. He bases, walks out top, and turns this play around as well.
Tragic. Tragic for AL in multiple ways. I think overall Flandre had a good start to the series, obviously, and then things kind of fell apart for him a little bit. Really never had the impact that he wanted in games 2 or 3. Suffered even with this Gwen pick that he's very, very comfortable on because of the counter matchup that 369 was able to play. And then even Tarzan, towards the back half of this series, not able to find these smites, and suddenly, you know, getting outplayed by Kanavi a little bit. That just goes to show how strong both of these junglers are, that they can make the other look like a non-factor on the games that they're on.
Yeah, and I mean, even in this skirmish, right, you can just see how difficult it is for a Jhin to do the DPS, right? Like, a lot of other AD carries can probably function a little easier in these skirmishes, but when it comes to it, just not the champion that Hope would have wanted to be when the rest of your team are so far behind. And We talked about this a little in the draft. I didn't really get to see it come to fruition, but the Vi Azir combo, we saw it once happen down on that bot side and once at the very end of the game there. But it's just so difficult to try and play out as really any immobile carry. That the life of an AD in that game is always going to be tricky, and I think that Hope found that out probably the worst way by losing.
Yeah, unfortunate here, as it came at the very end of the game, but it did matter at the end of the day for Top Esports. We're awaiting our final MVP before we wrap up the show, but again, thank you so much for tuning in to the first day of this group stage. We're gonna have so many really tightly contested best of series every single day for the next month and a half to 2 months. So you are going to want to make sure to stay tuned, not only for the stakes of these high quality matches of Top Esports versus Anyone's Legends, and then teams like BLG, JDG thrown in there as well. But then also, if you go to the Nirvana group, those teams currently playing for their tournament lives, you lose too many games, you're not only out for this split, but for next split as well. I think we get our first Nirvana game, I think on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to get final confirmation on that, but a lot of really fun stuff happening in the LPL.
Yeah, I mean, I think the LPL, when you seed your groups like this, a lot of the games are just really close and really intense, and that always gives us the best outing really, and the best showing for the league and for the games that we want to watch. I mean, my favorite, maybe one of the favorite series was when it was not necessarily the best type of League of Legends being played, but it is
exactly
Kanavi who comes away with the player of the game MVP performance on the Vi. Very well earned, very well deserved. Was again instrumental in how they found the lead in the early stages of this game.
That's 6 MVPs. Top Esports has played 9 games.
Yeah,
they've won 8 of them, right? So he's
King Kanavi. Yeah,
he's stacking them up right now, making a very early MVP case for split number 2. But that's gonna do it for our broadcast here today for the first day of the group stage. Root, thank you so much for joining me here for this broadcast. Big shout out to our producer Kai. He was holding down the fort the entirety of the day, and also to Rafa and Cubby, who were here for our first 2 series. Tomorrow, we'll be right back here, same time, once again, 3 a.m. Eastern start time. We've got JDG versus NIP, FPX versus Thundertalk, and then BLG versus Invictus Gaming, surely to pack a punch, Rude. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow. You're going to be there as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to be, again, back half of the day. I'll get to watch 2 great best of 3 series, and then be able to come back in and round out the day, hopefully, with a nice little series as well, like I've had today.
Yeah. Before we go, a big thank you to our elite Ko-Fi supporters, Aaron, Soup, and Mung. Their pledged financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an LPL English product every single day. Once again, final score here for this series, Top Esports 2, Anyone Legend 1 in our rematch of the Split 1 LPL Finals. We'll be back with more action here on LPL English tomorrow, and until then,